Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a Zelda game that was once mocked and later praised, and now stands tall as one of Nintendo's boldest experiments. I'm talking about The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, the cel-shaded adventure that took risk, divided fans, and ultimately sailed into legend. And guess what? With the official launch of the Nintendo Switch 2, Wind Waker is finally available again. This time as part of the brand new GameCube Virtual Console through Nintendo Switch Online. That means a whole new generation can set sail on the Great Sea, and longtime fans can revisit the adventure with a fresh wave of nostalgia. But there's a lot more to this story than just the art style. Wind Waker is a tale of innovation, backlash, redemption, and legacy. From its rocky reveal to its modern reappraisal and long-awaited re-release. We're unpacking the full journey of one of the most misunderstood Zelda titles of all time. So if you're ready, let's batten down the hatches and let's set sail. Released in late 2002 in Japan and early 2003 worldwide, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker arrived at a strange moment in Nintendo history. The GameCube was struggling to match the PS2's dominance. Fan expectations for Zelda were sky high after the haunting brilliance of Ocarina of Time and the dark tone of Majora's Mask. Everyone expected the next Zelda game to be much more mature, more realistic, and then Nintendo revealed a cartoon. The Wind Waker was, at first glance, everything Zelda fans didn't ask for, but over time it would become everything they didn't know they needed. To understand the Wind Waker's development, we have to rewind to 2000. Nintendo unveiled a tech demo at Space World showing Link and Ganondorf locked in a dramatic sword duel. It was moody, cinematic, and not real. That demo was never meant to reflect the next Zelda. Behind the scenes, series creator Shigeru Miyamoto and the director Eiji Aonuma were rethinking everything. They didn't want to rehash Ocarina of Time. Instead, they envisioned something totally new. A world where expressions mattered, where animation told the story, and where styles served gameplay. The result was Toon Link and a flooded Hyrule. Aonuma later said that the team had grown weary of the traditional medieval aesthetic. They wanted color, they wanted charm, and most of all, they wanted to take advantage of the GameCube's graphical power, not through realism, but through animation. Cel shading, a bold artistic choice at the time, allowed characters to emote more vividly, and it gave the world a timeless quality that realistic graphics couldn't match. Internally, the change sparked debate. Some staff members were unsure how fans would react. Would longtime Zelda players accept a cartoon aesthetic? Would the industry respect it? To justify the pivot, the team created internal prototypes that highlighted the benefits of the new style. One featured Toon Link sneaking through enemy territory, his exaggerated animations conveying tension better than a stoic, realistic model ever could. Another showed a Moblin boss flailing and expressive, almost slapstick fashion. They also leaned heavily into motion and expression. The GameCube's hardware allowed for smoother animation, dynamic lighting, and a camera system that could zoom, pan, and frame moments like film. This gave the Wind Waker its now iconic cinematic flair. Early iterations of the world map had a more compact layout, but the team expanded it gradually as they realized how satisfying it felt to travel by sea, watching clouds roll in, waves crash, and the horizon unfold. They included over 49 charted islands. Each was something to discover, even if minor. Some ideas were too ambitious. An early plan to let players control the weather beyond just wind was scrapped. So was the ability to swim between distant islands or encounter random sea storms that could alter navigation. Time constraints forced these features out, but the ambition behind them helped inform Wind Waker's atmosphere. Wind Waker was officially announced in 2001, and that's when the backlash began. Nintendo fans were not pleased. The tech demo from Space World had teased a gritty sword fight between a realistically rendered Link and Ganondorf. What they got instead was a cartoon. Message boards exploded, magazines called it childish, the nickname Zelda was born, and it wasn't affectionate. Even longtime fans were confused. Was Nintendo abandoning older players? Had the company gone soft? But Nintendo stood its ground. Miyamoto defended the style, saying it was easier to animate, better for gameplay, and in line with the kind of story they wanted to tell. Aonuma later admitted he was nervous. He knew they were taking a risk, but he also believed in the vision. Wind Waker wasn't supposed to be dark. It was supposed to be expressive, emotional, and most importantly, fun. Wind Waker begins generations after the events of Ocarina of Time. Hyrule has been flooded, sealed beneath a vast ocean. A new world has risen atop the waves, dotted with islands, pirates, and forgotten ruins. Civilization lives above the deep, unaware of the kingdom buried far below. You play as Link, but not the hero of time, just a regular kid in a sleepy island village wearing a green tunic for a coming-of-age ceremony. It's quiet life until the day a monstrous bird snatches his little sister, Ariel. Link sets off in pursuit, joining a crew of pirates led by the no-nonsense Tetra. What begins as a rescue mission quickly becomes a saga of ancient legends and hidden truths. Beneath the waves lie the forgotten kingdom of Hyrule, frozen in time, sealed away long ago by the gods to stop Ganondorf's evil from spreading. The people above live unaware of this past, continuing in blissful ignorance. But Link uncovers the truth. The hero of time's legacy still matters, and it's up to him to finish what began ages ago. The narrative stakes rise when Tetra is revealed to be Princess Zelda, a descendant of the royal bloodline. Unlike previous Zeldas, Tetra is fierce, independent, and completely unaware of her heritage. Her transformation is one of identity, learning that her past and future are intertwined. And with that comes responsibility. Ganondorf's portrayal in Wind Waker is strikingly different. He's no longer just a villain with ambitions of conquest. Here, he speaks of envy and loss, of growing up in the barren Gerudo Desert, watching the lush kingdom of Hyrule flourish from afar. He's a ghost of an old world, clinging to power not for chaos, but for what he believes is justice. His lines are poetic. His presence is haunting. It's the most nuanced depiction of Ganondorf to date. Throughout the story, the ocean becomes more than a backdrop. It becomes a symbol, a layer of history that hides the sins, triumphs, and forgotten glories of a kingdom now lost. The game forces the player to consider what it means to bury the past. Can we truly move without letting go? Or do we risk repeating what was never fully resolved? In the game's climax, the King of Red Lions, revealed to be King Daphne's No Hands in Hyrule, chooses not to resurrect Hyrule. Instead, he allows it to be washed away forever. The future is not in the past, he says, choosing to stay behind as Zelda and Link sail off in search of new land. It's a powerful ending, one of hope, sacrifice, and finality. The story refuses to cling to nostalgia, it moves forward. In many ways, Wind Waker's story is the deconstruction of Zelda tradition. It honors the legacy of Hyrule, but it also challenges it. It asks players to let go of what came before and embrace the unknown. The wind that once carried the legend now fills the sails of a new journey, and that, more than any final boss or treasure, is the real adventure. Wind Waker introduced a lot of new mechanics to the Zelda formula, and not all of them were immediately embraced. The biggest change? The Great Sea. Instead of a connected overworld like Hyrule Field, players explored a massive ocean dotted with islands. You used a magic talking boat, the King of Red Lions, to sail across the map. Wind direction mattered. You had to use the Wind Waker baton to control the breeze and navigate. The sense of scale was like anything in Zelda before, but over time, some found the sailing tedious. Long stretches of water between islands could feel empty. Enemy encounters were rare at sea, and fast travel options were limited. But there was magic in that space. Discovering a hidden island, spotting a glowing treasure chest beneath the waves, hearing the distant cry of a seagull, and wondering what lay ahead. Combat remained tight, building on the mechanics introduced in Ocarina. Lock-on targeting returned, new parry attacks were added, enemies showed clear visual cues before striking. Link's expressive animations helped players read enemy movements. The dungeon design was strong. If fewer in number, Tower of the Gods, Earth Temple, and Wind Temple were standouts, with clever puzzles and thematic design. However, one major criticism haunted Wind Waker: the Triforce Hunt. Near the end of the game, players were tasked with finding 8 Triforce shards scattered across the sea. This required deciphering maps, paying Tingle to translate them, and sailing to remote locations. Many felt this quest was a pacing killer. Nintendo later admitted they had cut content from the game to meet deadlines. Several dungeons were removed, and the Triforce Hunt was used to pad the late game. In the 2013 HD remaster, this section was streamlined, showing that even Nintendo saw it as a misstep. When Wind Waker launched, critics praised its visuals, music, and innovation. IGN awarded it a 9.6, calling it a stunning and imaginative entry into the series. GameSpot echoed the sentiment, describing it as a beautiful, masterful crafted game. Nintendo Power hailed it as a bold direction for Zelda, and yet, despite critical acclaim, fans were divided. The backlash against the art style lingered. For many, the cel-shaded graphics felt like a betrayal of the more mature tone they had expected. This divide was especially pronounced among Western audiences, who had latched on to the gritty aesthetic of the original tech demo. To some, Wind Waker looked like it was made for children, ignoring its rich themes and complex storytelling. Sales figures reflected the controversy. While Wind Waker sold approximately 4.6 million copies worldwide, a commercial success by most standards, it failed to match the record-setting performance of Ocarina of Time. Some industry analysts believe that the art style directly impacted consumer interest, especially among older players who were gravitating towards more cinematic games on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. However, with time, perception shifted dramatically. The cel-shaded visuals once mocked provoked the Wind Waker's greatest asset. While other early 3D titles aged poorly, Wind Waker's bold and clean art direction remained visually appealing. Its character animations, facial expressions, and vibrant color palettes helped it stand out even a decade later. A new generation of players embraced the game not in spite of its style, but because of it. The whimsical visuals paired with emotional depth created a tone like anything else in the series. Critics and fans alike began reevaluating the game's place in Zelda history. Retrospectives called it ahead of its time. Some went as far to label it a misunderstood masterpiece. When the HD remaster launched in 2013 for the Wii U, it was met with overwhelming positivity. The updated visuals preserved the original aesthetic while adding dynamic lighting and improved textures. Nintendo also addressed the pacing issues by introducing the Swift Sail, which drastically reduced travel time across the Great Sea. The Triforce hunt was streamlined, making the final act feel much less tedious than before. The remaster sold nearly 2.3 million copies, despite being on a struggling console, further cementing the game's reappraisal. Today, Wind Waker is regularly listed among the best Zelda games of all time, and even among the greatest games of its generation. Its journey from polarizing oddity to cherished classic is one of the most dramatic reversals in Zelda history, and in many ways, it's the ultimate example of how art direction and storytelling can outlast initial skepticism and commercial hesitation. Fast forward to today, and the Wind Waker is more relevant than ever. The Wind Waker's journey is poised to come full circle for a new generation, as it releases once again on the Nintendo Switch 2 console. The Switch 2 re-release will mark the first time Wind Waker is playable on a portable device, aside from the Wii U's off-TV play. Given the Switch 2's hybrid nature, players can soon take Link's seafaring adventures on the go or enjoy it on the big screen, with convenient save states and other NSO enhancements like rewind or nostalgic screen filters. It ensures that Wind Waker's legacy continues, allowing new players, perhaps children of those who played it in 2003, to set sail on the Great Sea without needing old hardware. Wind Waker's journey mirrors Link's own. It started small, dismissed, doubted, and mocked, but over time it proved its worth. Its visual style became iconic, its world unforgettable, and its story, one of courage, legacy, and moving on, resonated deeper than anyone expected. Wind Waker taught Nintendo a valuable lesson. Bold choices can pay off, even if the rewards aren't immediate. Its initial controversy became a badge of honor, and its long road to acceptance showed that players, like the series itself, can grow. What was once seen as a misstep is now considered visionary. Developers cite Wind Waker as a case study in timeless design. Its visual longevity, innovative mechanics, and narrative depth continue to influence modern games. For many fans, Wind Waker is their favorite Zelda, not because it was perfect, but because it dared to be something else. It didn't follow the crowd, it created its own current. It taught us that legends aren't about doing what's expected. They're about charting a path forward, no matter the headwind. So here's the game that sailed against the wind and found its course. A game that drifted from tradition, crashed into criticism, and still managed to carve out its place in history, one wave at a time. So that's the story of The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, a game that defined expectations, weathered the storm, and came out the other side stronger than ever. If you played Wind Waker back in the day, let me know your favorite memory down in the comments below. And if you're just discovering it now, you're in for something special. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Until next time, fair winds, sailors.